Crystalline halls of the Vorthery Palace gleamed under 3 purple suns as Princess Lirelei pressed her face against the observation deck's transparent barrier. Below, the gladiatorial arena buzzed with excitement as beings from across the galaxy gathered to witness the latest tournament. The princess's violet eyes scanned the competitors until they locked onto a lone figure standing apart from the others. The human male appeared unremarkable by galactic standards. He possessed no chitinous armor like the Krathin warriors, no energy manipulation abilities like the Solari, and certainly none of the natural weaponry that made other species formidable. Yet something about his calm demeanor and steady gaze intrigued her. "Look at that pathetic creature," scoffed Commander Vellana, the princess's personal guard. Her emerald skin rippled with disdain as she observed the human checking his primitive kinetic weapons. "The poor thing doesn't even have proper scales or natural defenses." Princess Lirelei's pointed ears twitched with interest rather than disgust. "Perhaps that makes him more fascinating, not less." The tournament began with thunderous roars from the crowd. Massive Gorlax beasts charged across the arena floor, while energy blasts illuminated the air like deadly fireworks. One by one, competitors fell to superior strength, advanced technology, or sheer biological advantage. The human, however, moved differently than the others. Where other fighters relied on brute force or exotic abilities, the human employed something the princess had never witnessed before: tactical thinking combined with adaptability. He used the arena's environment to his advantage, turning obstacles into weapons and disadvantages into opportunities. When a crystal serpent attempted to crush him with its massive coils, he didn't try to match its strength. Instead, he used its own momentum against it, redirecting the creature's attack into a structural support that brought down a section of barrier walls. "Impossible," breathed Vellana, as the human emerged from the debris cloud unharmed. "He's using primitive projectile weapons against energy shields and winning." The princess leaned forward as the human faced his final opponent, a towering void stalker whose natural armor had deflected every energy weapon used against it thus far. The creature's forearms ended in razor-sharp claws, capable of slicing through starship hulls, and its photosynthetic skin absorbed most forms of energy attacks. Rather than engage the beast directly, the human studied it for several moments. The princess watched as his eyes tracked the creature's movement patterns, noting how it favored its left side and how its joints articulated. When the Void Stalker lunged forward with overwhelming speed, the human was no longer where it expected him to be. The battle that followed defied everything the princess understood about combat. The human didn't overpower his opponent or outlast it through superior endurance. Instead, he systematically exploited every weakness he observed, using precision strikes at specific joint locations to gradually limit the creature's mobility. His weapons might have been primitive, but his application of them demonstrated a level of tactical intelligence that impressed even the most cynical observers. When the Void Stalker finally collapsed, unable to continue fighting, the arena fell silent. The human stood victorious, not through superior firepower or natural gifts, but through something far more dangerous: intelligence applied with ruthless efficiency. Princess Lirelei rose from her seat, her decision made. She pointed directly at the human standing in the center of the arena, dirt and sweat covering his unremarkable form. "That human will be mine." The declaration sent ripples of shock through her royal entourage. Vellana stepped forward, concern evident in her luminous eyes. "Princess, surely you cannot be serious. He's just a primitive being from a backwater world. Your father will never approve such an inappropriate choice. My father values strength above all else," the princess replied, never taking her eyes off the human below. This creature just demonstrated something more valuable than physical power or advanced technology. He showed intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to overcome impossible odds through sheer determination. Commander Valana's protests grew more urgent. But Princess, he possesses no royal bloodline, no advanced genetic modifications, no psychic abilities. What could such a being possibly offer the Vorthri Empire? The princess finally turned away from the observation window, her violet eyes blazing with newfound purpose. He offers something our empire has forgotten in our pursuit of technological superiority and genetic perfection. He represents the kind of thinking that doesn't rely on predetermined advantages. As the royal party prepared to descend to the arena floor, Princess Lirelei considered the implications of her choice. The human had won his freedom through combat, earning the right to leave Vorthri space with his life intact. However, she intended to offer him something far more valuable, a position within the royal court and access to resources that could benefit not just himself, but his entire species. The princess understood that her father, Emperor Thalarix, would initially resist such an unprecedented decision. Never before had a member of the royal family chosen a mate from such a technologically primitive species. Yet she also knew that her father's respect for demonstrated capability would eventually overcome his prejudices, especially after witnessing the humans' performance in the arena. As they made their way through the palace corridors toward the arena floor, Princess Lirelei reflected on what she had observed. The human hadn't merely survived the tournament through luck or accident. He had approached each challenge with careful analysis, creative problem-solving, and the kind of innovative thinking that her own species had perhaps grown too comfortable to maintain. The Vorthri Empire commanded vast territories and possessed technology that bordered on the miraculous, but they had perhaps become too dependent on their advantages. Watching the human overcome superior opponents through intelligence and determination reminded her that true strength often came from unexpected sources. When they finally reached the arena floor, the human stood calmly among the cheering crowds. Apparently unaffected by the adulation surrounding him. His attention seemed focused on assessing potential exit routes and identifying possible threats among the gathered spectators. Even in victory, he maintained the kind of situational awareness that had kept him alive during the tournament. Princess Lirelei approached him directly, ignoring the startled reactions of the arena officials and the confused murmurs of the crowd. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of royal blood and the conviction of someone who had found exactly what they were looking for. "Human," she said, using the galactic standard language, "you have proven yourself worthy of consideration for a position within the Vorthri court. Will you accept such an offer?" The human's response would determine not only his own future, but potentially the relationship between two very different species. The princess waited, confident that she had chosen correctly, ready to face